In today's video, I've got 5 ultra budget MTG Arena standard best of 1 decks for you. They are 5 decks and they have 0 rares in. These decks all have just commons and uncommons in, basic lands, and they are all ready to play on Arena. Great decks for new players, beginner players. If you've come into MTG at the start of Tarkir Dragonstorm, then these decks are going to be great for you. Also, if you like playing on a budget, because I have lots and lots of budget fans on this channel and they do love the budget friendly decks. Of course, it goes without saying that you can take all these decks, upgrade them, add in rares where you see fit, or if you'd like some suggestions from me, put it in the comments down below. But without further ado, let's get on to today's video. So we're starting off with probably my favourite deck out of all the 5. This is a deck that I put together. It's green, white, beans. Beans, up the beanstalk. Definitely one of the most powerful uncommons in standard. It's the enchantment for 2 mana. When it enters, whenever you cast a spell with mana 5 or greater, you draw a card. So the idea of this is having lots of high casting mana spells, drawing your card, working your way through the deck, and that is the idea of this deck, having lots of removal, but dearer costed removal in this deck that potentially will cost less. But what's good about that, and we'll take a look at some of those cards like Luminous Rebuke, 3 less to cast if it targets a tapped creature. We've got Rise End, 3 less to cast if it targets a tapped creature as well, and other cards like Static Snare as well, 1 less to cast for each attacking creature. But what happens to this, if you're new to Magic and you don't know this, when Up the Beanstalk is on the battlefield, that will read the actual card's CMC cost, where this is 5, 5, and 5. Even if you pay less, it will still trigger the Beanstalk and will get you to draw a card. Really good way of using Up the Beanstalk and basically keeping your deck going through its motions and keeping your hands potentially full of cards. In this deck also, you're going to need some win cons. So when you're looking at, budget win cons, sometimes it's a bit hard because all the really powerful stuff is generally in the rare status normally as well, as we know. So that's a good way to upgrade this. Bringing in some of the overlords is really good. The white overlord and the green overlord into this deck. But what I've looked at in here is seeing what we can use as a really big finisher. And that is going to be Copper Host Crusher, a Phyrexian Bear Rhino that has trample and hexproof. So it's a creature that is protected with hexproof from target spells or abilities our opponents control. It's a massive, massive beater. Not many attacks are going to be needed with this 8/8, and it has tramples as well, so it can't be stopped by any annoying little tokens if we get to the end game, and then this will be taking over and getting us a win. So we'll be putting 4 of them in there as well. Obstinate Baloth is a nice creature 4/4. Going to be really good against the discard, like the mono black discard decks, anything like that. The Hope of Nightmare decks and everything like that make you discard. If you do, you just chuck this on the battlefield. You get a 4/4 in, potentially turn 1 if it's in your hand. They Hopeless Nightmare you straight away. Liliana decks, any deck like that, Liliana the Vow, that makes you discard, this is a really good creature in there. It's a 4/4 and can help with the life gain against some of those faster aggro decks as well. The only other creature I've added in is a Woodland Acolyte. 2/2, this enters, you get to draw a card. I like this. I like Recursion in my budget decks as well, and this has Mend the Wiles, a 1 mana instant, put target permanent card from your graveyard on top of your library that we can use Mend the Wiles and then cast Woodland later on. So we can then just return anything we need. That could be really, really good. It's a permanent card, so we can get the Beanstalk back, one of our Baloths, or one of our Host Crushers as well. If it's gone through, you could even get one of your enchantments like Static Snare if that does get removed, or Seal from Existence, which is another one because obviously they're both permanents as well. Ward 3 on this one, so it makes it a little bit harder to target. We've also got a couple of cards in there, a couple of cards that are just good in different situations, like Heritage Reclamation. Choose one of these options. We can destroy artifacts, enchantments, or exile a card from a target graveyard, and that's at instant speed. So Ominous Science decks that are trying to target stuff into graveyards, and Oculus decks, we can potentially get that when they're trying to flash that back in as well. And Paw Patch Formation, destroying target creature with fly, and there's still quite a lot of dragons around at the moment with Tarkir being released, and this also kills an enchantment or draw a card and create a food token. So lots of different ways to have removal in here, large costing stuff, anything over that 5 mana, which is these, 8, 10, 14 cards there that can trigger the Beanstalk, ways to get stuff back from the graveyard as well, and a big finisher. I mean, that's everything that a budget deck wants, and this can function really, really well. Land base, we've got 16 basics there, and then we've got Blossoming Sands and Etched Cornfield. So this is a really good budget land, 13 or less life for any player, then this will come in untapped, and just a nice little bit of life gain with Blossoming Sands, because we're not being an aggro speedy player, so we get a tapped land or 1 or 2. That's still alright for this type of deck. But green-white beans, get your Copper Host Crushers out and start smashing and just using loads and loads of removal with this deck. We're then going to an aggro with a flurry theme here, Boros Aggro. Just a very, very good deck, and can be built with budget as well. So the Boros and mono red decks are very good. They're such a huge part of the meta, as we all know in Best of One. But we can still build a very competitive deck with just commons and uncommons. What we're going to go for is a little bit of the flurry. So we do have cards like Devoted Duelist. This has flurry. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, creature does 1 damage to each opponent as well. We then got Quarry Mountain Stalwart. This is whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you deal 2 damage to each opponent and you gain 2 lives. So we want lots of low mana costing spells, because we really do want to be hitting that second spell if we can. The only other creatures we do have in there that work well, 15 creatures in total, 17 instants and sorceries, so plenty of way to get those second spells going. As you can see, we have like a plethora of 1-drops there. Is the Immolator, because this has Prow. When you're playing lots of spells in your deck, Prowess builds this up and will be a bigger heater as well. It can also be sacked to deal damage to a target creature or planeswalker, so if there is a way that it's just going to be killed and you're playing a spell, you might be able to take something out on the way, whether that be a planeswalker, maybe the new Elspeth, or just a creature that's been a bit of a problem. And then Swift Spear as the 1-drop, and Haste and Prowess. And we should, if you're not a new player, you know how good this card is. Then we just have loads and loads of spells. Now, playing Boros, we can add in Boros Charm. 4 damage to target players is the one that I will always generally use in this. You can use a double strike potentially as well if you do, put some maybe Trample with Monstrous Rage, the most talked about card in Standard without a doubt. Lots of people want it banned. That just tells you how good it is. So this is obviously a 4 of in the deck, can be attached to our creatures. And then by playing Boros, we can play Lightning Helix, 3 damage to target creature and gain 3 life, and some premium, really good removal, Sheltered by Ghost. Getting this on our turn 1 or turn 2 creature, and then getting rid of something and just making something awkward to deal with straight away. This is really good, and it can obviously target a non-land permanent, so it can get planeswalkers and enchantments. It can get anything. So I did have 4 of this in the deck, but I felt like I needed, that extra instant speed or sorcery spell to actually have it at the second spell. So, which is why, I had a lot of low mana spells in this deck, like Bolt Wave, 3 damage to each opponent, just 1 mana though, Burst Lightning as well. Might have the meat for a little bit of extra card draw. The mouse thing is not obviously important to us, but the Trample and draw a card is for 1 mana. We're going to get 2 out of 3, so that is, still a really good card for me for this deck. Devoted Duelist, I do like this card a lot, and this is a really good card. You can get this down to turn 2 and attacking if you can, but then when you cast your second spell, that 1 damage is brilliant, because you're doing this maybe as your second spell, 3 damage, then it's 4 with Devoted. Burst Lightning, each of these just get that extra little bit of damage on as well, so it's just more pingage, as I call it, to our opponent's dome, and hopefully getting a quick win with this deck. The land base on this, very simple. We're going 21 lands on this. There is a hand smoother in Best of One, so we can go down a little bit lower, and the CMC of this is really low, 1.6. You might be able to get away with 20. I haven't tried 20, but if you feel like trying 20, please do give it a go, and just add in 1 more of what you think, whether Shelter, Ghost, Boros Charm, Lightning Helix. That would be my suggestion. Try it on 20. I've only been tested on 21. But I didn't really get any problem with land, so maybe that's something to think about. I'll let you decide on that. And then we've just got Abraded Bluffs, not the this is the land that comes in and deals 1 damage, because this deck is all about the damage. Now we have a bounce deck, an Orzhov Bounce deck that can be very competitive, even with just an uncommons and commons. This is really good. Now, Nurturing Pixie is just a really sweet card. It's powerful. It's a 1/1. When it enters, return up to one target non-fairy, non-land permanent control to your owner's hand. If a permanent was returned this way, you get to put a 1/1 counter on it. So the idea of this is to get really good interaction of permanents that are coming in that do, interact with the board or will do something to opponent as well. So you really want those into the battlefield ETB effects. So cards like Grim Bauble, target creature gets -2/2, bouncing that. Hopeless Nightmare is my favourite. Just get the opponent to keep discarding the card and losing 2 life. Very, very fun and very, very annoying to play. And then I'm adding in Corroding Dragonstorm, because this is just another one that is brilliant to bounce. It helps you with the life gain situation and Surveil too. So even though, the dragons aren't in this deck, we have just 8 creatures, 4 of those being the Pixie, and the other 4 being the new Suppport Kiran that is like Nurturing Pixie. This has flash, it has flying, it's a 2/1, return up to one other target non-land permanent you control to your hand, but if it was a token, you get to draw a card. But what we're doing in this deck is bouncing our really good enchantments and stuff like that. Nowhere to run. Potential killer creature, -3/3, bouncing that. Momentum breaker. Could be discard, or it could be the opponent has to sacrifice a creature or vehicle of their choice as well. When you're attacking as well, you might be able to gain a little bit of life if you do it equal to your speed by sacking this. But generally, that's not really what you'll be doing. Situations where you need it, fair enough. But we get ways to gain life, like I said, with the Dragonstorm in this deck. The only other cards in there is a 3 of Banishing Light, another good way to exile a target non-land permanent opponent controls. Generally don't want to be flat, bouncing these ones. It's just a really good card, Banishing Light. And when you're looking for common and uncommon things that work on theme of the deck, for me, this was definitely one of them. I've also added in 4 Scroll Shift because this is a bounce effect. So we can exile up to one target artifact, creature, enchantment control, return to the battlefield, and then draw a card. So bouncing anything here that's just got the ultimate value for you, or what is needed at the time, is the way to play this deck. Land base, 22 lands I've gone for in this one. We've got a slightly higher CMC than before, 1.9, so we're going up another land. And we're using the Scaled Barons in this one to gain the life rather than the pingage, because I feel like with this one, we want a bit, get a bit of life gain. We haven't got so many creatures coming down as blockers. We've just got the 4, and their job is to bounce all our enchantments and to get our win or get an angry quit from our opponent. But this is a super fun deck, easily upgraded, and can be pretty competitive for 0 rare as well. Now, if you like dragons, I've got a Golgari Dragon deck for you. So I had a look, obviously up the beanstalk, powerful card, and one that as budget players really have to utilise if we can, because it's just so good, and it really does help with the card draw, which is one of the hard things when you're playing as a budget player. But this does have some pretty good dragons in the colours of Golgari. We have the Feral Death Gorger, Flying Death Touch 3/5. When it enters, X ups 2 target cards from a single graveyard. We can also use the Omen part, put a 1/1 counter on a target creature, and draw a card. And then it will just be shuffled back into the owner's library, and you get to play it later again for the Feral Death Gorger as well. The other dragons that we have Sagu Wildling. 1, look for a basic land, put it in our hand so we can help a little bit with the land situation. And when this dragon comes in, it's only a 3/3, but still nice. Enters, it's flying, so has that evasion and gains us 3 life. The last one we have Disruptive Stormbrood, another 3/3 for 5 mana. When it enters, destroy up to one target artifact enchantment. And it also has Petty Revenge, so we can destroy a target creature with power 3 or less, so added removal for this. So all of these dragons have pretty good side spells on them as well. Counters to draw a card, searching for land in case we're a bit land screwed in this, because we are obviously very budget, and then removal as well. And then they act as our finishers to the game as well. So all in all, 3 very good dragons for this. We then have, of course, a single Dragonstorm. It's not really a bounce deck, but if we can get this in there and then gain some life, lose some life, and get it to return with the, we've got 12 dragons, so there's a good pretty chance. We don't want too many of these in the deck. You may be able to up to 2 possibly, but I decided to go for 1 of these and then another bit of removal. I liked Haywire Might as a single of. I didn't really want 2 of these, but this creature comes in, when it dies you gain 2 life, and we can sack it to exile a target non-creature artifact or non-creature enchantment. So for me, if you prefer 2 of the Dragonstorms, you could drop this, but I do like this as a, another sort of bit of removal as well. This, still has a fair bit of other removal though. Cost to exhale, we've got dragons. Target creature gets -3/3 until end of turn. Additional cost to cast this, you have to pay 1, so it could cost 2, but you can also behold a dragon if you like as well, then it costs 1. Anointed with Affliction, great against Heartfire decks, the mono red decks, exiling those creatures so they can't do damage to you. Go for the throat, of course, but not much to talk about that, just really good removal. And I like Strategic Betrayal. Now it is sorcery, but it's still a very good card. There's a lot of, graveyard shenanigans going on, Oculus decks, Omniscience decks, and everything like that. So in our uncommon budget status rare, no rares, this is a pretty good card for us. We can't obviously run cards that usual people do because they're normally in rares, like the Artifact. Can't remember the name of the card that gets rid of graveyards as well, and then there's Rest in Peace in white, obviously. But this will exile a target opponent creature and then their graveyard, so it does help us a little bit with that. That was just a long way of saying deal with graveyards, but yeah, sorry about that. And then we have Tear Asunder, another bit of removal, kicker it for 4, and then we can just get rid of a permanent like a Planeswalker or anything else. Also, couple of 2 cease and desist, because the instant speeder, you can see I'm a little bit worried about graveyards at the moment in these decks. This is instant speed cease. Exile up to 2 cards from a grave, single grave, target player gains 2 life and draws a card. I think for 2 mana at instant speed, we've got a couple of strategic betrayals and then a couple of cease. We can still get the 2 life and draw a card for 2 mana, which is decent. 6 mana, destroy your artifacts and enchantments. Probably never going to use that really. Getting way best of 1 standard is. If we're still alive at turn 7, 8, 9, it's going to be a flipping long game. That's for sure. That's not normally how best of 1 games go. But I wanted a mid-rangey type of deck, so it gives someone something different to play other than the lower aggro decks, and this could honestly be the deck for you. So the last deck, we're going back to green-white, but no beans in this one. This is a counters deck, so all based around 1/1 counters and everything like that. Lots of small creatures in this one, 21 creatures, a CMC of 1.8, so we're going for the 22 lands again in this one. 8 instants, 5 sorceries, and 4 enchantments. So a lot more of a creature heavy deck that if that's more of your thing, then this is the one for you. So we're looking at building counters and stuff. We've got some new cards in Tarkir that can help with that as well. But first of all, as always, we're going to look at the creatures. Enduring Bondwarden, backup, could have a 1/1 counter on it if you decide. If not, when this creature dies, you get to put its counters on something else. So it's pretty good when this creature ends battlefield to put the 1/1 counter on this. If it's another creature, it also gets the ability of that as well. So, but nice turn 1 play. Or we have our Lano RL's turn 1 play to hopefully ramp us into something else and get more mana on the field and get something a bit quicker, because we do want, we've got Scourge in there. This is an X-Spell. So turn 1, land, elf, turn 2, 3, we can get this down. Then whenever 1 or more counters are put on another non-creature, you again get to put a 1/1 counter on this. And the other creatures in the deck that we're looking to get counters on, Formation Breaker, creatures with power less than this creature power can't block it, and this can get big, and this can be really hard to removal. Now, no hexproof, anything like that. We can give it hexproof. We've got Snakeskin Veil to protect stuff, puts a 1/1 counter on, and then we'll give something hexproof. And this is a really good card to protect when you're playing the game, because it can just get out of hand and creatures just can't block it when it gets so big. When we're adding the counters on, Synchronized Charge, distributing 2 1/1 counters. Turn to turn, they get Vigilance and Trample, another way to put a counter on as well. We also have, Requisition Raid. The spree on this for the bottom one, put a 1/1 counter on each creature target player controls, so we can do that, and we do have the option to use removal with this as well. There's just lots of different ways that we can get counters on stuff. Botanical Brawler ends with 2/1 counters. When 1 or more counters are put on another permanent control, if it's the first time 1/1 counters are put on that, put a 1/1 counter on this creature, so this can just get bigger as well. And when these creatures get really big, this one's good that it's got Trample, Synchronized Charge comes in, and hopefully can get over the top and do some damage for us as well. Then Duty Beyond Death, another way to protect, because we're more of a creature based deck, and I like just having a couple of these in there. works with putting a 1/1 counter, but it puts it on all the creatures you control. You have to sack one of those creatures, but that could be your Llanowar Elf or your Enduring Bond when it gets to this sort of stage, if they're still on the field. It gives everything indestructible, so it will help against those Wraths, which, you know, apart from Sunfall, which just gets around everything, and you know, it's a really annoying card that exiles the whole field. Anything like Day of Judgment, which does a Wrath or anything like that, this can help you build up your team as well. And then they are all indestructible. So even stopping against spot removal, it's still decent if you have to do it. You know, protecting a formation breaker could be essential. I've had it where I've had a couple of creatures on the field. This has been absolutely massive, and I literally just sacked it to left, you know, 1 or 2 creatures, sometimes 1 with this on there, because I need to protect it. It's got Vigilance and Trample, and it's just going to go over the top and win me the game. The other creature I'm putting in there was Champion of Dusan. So 4/2 Trample. Counters going on trample creatures is good because they can get over the top, like we've said. This also has Renew, and it has a counter theme, so putting a 1/1 counter and a trample counter on target creature by exiling this card from the graveyard. It's a 4/2, so susceptible to 1 mana removal. Stays out the way of cut down though, which is nice. And then we've just got the last one to talk about, really is Inspiring Call. Drawing a card for each creature you control with a 1/1 counter, and they gain indestructible. So the theme of the deck, as you've seen, we've got lots of protection against removal, Wraths, with the indestructible features of multiple cards in this, because we're trying to, you know, build up our creatures as big as we can, getting the 1/1 counters on them, and then we can do stuff like draw cards off them, give them trample, vigilance potentially, and everything like that, move counters to another creature with some cards, and then it is all about swinging sideways and attacking with this in this aggro deck of Selesnya. I just think the deck is pretty fun. Now, there is a lot of spot removal out there, which is why I do have lots of protection, like the Snakeskin Veil. If someone thinks that, oh, that's a lot of, you know, protection with the duties and everything like that, but I do feel like you need it, and even that might not be enough. We're playing Shell by Ghost. Forgot to mention that. Absolute, like Beans. This is just an absolute house of a card. So getting this in there early on any creature gives it a bump. Lifelink, Ward 2 really does, you know, does well against the mono red deck, Sheltered by Ghost. It's just a really, really cool card. But yeah, that has been 5 decks for you today. 5 brews that I've put together with 0 rares. Looking after hopefully budget players, and I hope you enjoy these. Anyone wants to, you know, any ideas of ways to upgrade them, I don't put them in the video because the video is already like 22, 23 minutes long. I will chat to everyone in the comments down below, so that's what that's for. So please let me know what you like and what other kind of deck brews. If this is your first time here, this channel is all about giving you so many different types of decks, different ranges from 0 rares to decks with just 5 rares to meta decks to everything. So I really do feature a whole load of decks there, and the way to support me is to like the video, leave me a comment and subscribe to the channel. Really does help. You want to go about that bit further, check out my Patreon down below. Thank you to everyone that goes the extra mile and, you know, supports me there. And any of these decks you want to buy, take them to F&M. You can buy them from my sponsors, Cardmarket, if you're based in Europe, and then you can get all your card wants there. But thanks for watching today's video. You lot take care, and I'll see you on the next one.